guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. So today's video is, like promised, another Q&A, and today's Q&A is going to be all about motherhood. So I did a poll on my Instagram, asked you guys to ask me anything about motherhood, and you guys sent in some great questions, so I'm going to be answering 10 of those questions today. Again, if I don't answer any question that you have on motherhood, please leave your questions down below because I will be doing more Q&As in the future, but I'm just going to get straight into it. So firstly, how do you prepare for birth? That's even if you can. She knows. Obviously there's things like birthing plans. I had a birthing plan, not a serious birthing plan, it was just kind of like an ideal scenario kind of birthing plan, because to me that's what from the get-go when I was pregnant with Aiden, I remember when the midwife asked me, you know, what's your birthing plan, what do you want it to be? And I was really procrastinating with doing it because I just thought it doesn't matter how much you prepare for birth, the reality is you have no control over what happens in that delivery room. So as much as you can plan, to me I just feel like the planning is kind of for your own peace of mind. It's not really anything that you're gonna practically be able to exercise on the day. So for example, part of my birthing plan was to have a water birth for both Aiden and Mia. For Aiden, I couldn't have a water birth because the water in the hospital was contaminated. Can you believe that? The water in the hospital was contaminated, so I couldn't have a water birth. And then with Mia, I wanted to have a water birth, but I literally gave birth to Mia on the floor, on mats in the labour room, because as much as I planned to and I wanted to, like literally the tub was ready, full of water, and they asked this Mira, do you want to have a water birth? Do you still want to get in the tub? And I was like, yes, I want to get in. The reality was I couldn't get off the floor. I was in too much pain, I was too far gone in my labour, and I just couldn't physically get up and get into the water. So as much as it's good to have a birthing plan, in my opinion, I don't really think it's that necessary because, like I said, I feel like you can't control or predict what is going to happen in that labour room. So the only practical ways I would say to prepare for birth is just to go in knowing that you can do it, that millions of women have done it before, billions of women have done it before, and if they can do it, so can you. And the most important thing is that you and baby are safe at the end of the delivery. So whether that means C-section, whatever that means forceps, you know, whatever it takes to get your baby here and healthy, I think that's the best plan to have. Second question, what age is best to start disciplining your kids? For me, I think it depends on the child, because every child is different and every child matures differently at different stages. So, you know, my son could be 5 and he will not respond the same way that my daughter will respond when she is 5, if that makes sense. So I feel like every child responds to discipline in a different way and responds to different types of discipline in different ways. So you can't say that by 2 years old every single child has to be fully potty trained, and if they're not fully potty trained by 2, then they need to be disciplined. To me personally, I think that's rubbish. Like every child is different, but I think obviously there's different types of discipline, so you need to know your child and you need to know what your child responds well to. So for me, I started disciplining Aiden. I would correct him when he was quite small. So, you know, if he was going to put himself in danger, you know, maybe touch something dangerous or try and cross a road, or it depends on what it is. It's kind of a hard question to answer, but I would discipline by what I knew my child understood, if that makes sense. So if I knew that Aiden knew it was wrong to push someone at the age of 1, then he will get in trouble for it. But obviously there's different types of discipline, like I said. So whether that be me telling him off, whether that may be taking something off of him, whether that be me disciplining him physically, putting him on timeout, whatever it is, it all depends on what the scenario and the situation is, and to me it's specific to that child. So I would just say know your child and know what they know. Number 3, no question, just love how you talk about kids and quality time needed. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, I do think it's really important to spend quality time with your children, definitely. What exercises do you do with your kids? They are so smart. Thank you. What exercises do I do with my kids? So when I pick up Aiden from school and we get home, we have our routine. And our routine, if I say it to you and say, Aiden, what's our routine? He will tell you. He literally, I've drummed it into his head. So when we get home from school, obviously he gets changed out of his uniform, and then he has snacks, and then he has work mode, and then he has play mode. So work mode is he's in reception now, so I don't put too much pressure on him to know everything. But of course, he's entered into the school life. When he was in nursery, I wouldn't, you know, I'd let him play as soon as he comes home from school. But now there has to be a little bit more structure to his learning. So when he comes home and he starts his work mode, that is to get a notepad, to do his numbers, to do his letters, to practice words, and not even just words and numbers, but drawings, and, you know, just to get his mind working, and just things. And it doesn't always have to be educational exercises, even just stories. So from when my children were babies, I would only talk to my children like they were babies when they were babies. So all that cute, oh, cuckoo gaga, and all of that, that would be when they were literally months old. And as soon as they started to get a little bit older, I would speak to them like I would speak to anybody. Obviously not about anything, but I don't baby them. I talk to them because I know they're smart enough to understand, and I don't treat them like babies. And so I feel like that kind of gets their mind going. And if you ask Aiden something, you can just tell his mind is always on the go. And so I think teaching them things, not just educational things, but giving them different scenarios and different stories. So I ask Aiden questions like, oh Aiden, what do you think of this? And oh Mia, what do you think of this? And asking them what they like and what they don't like, and why they think it's wrong to do this and why they think it's wrong to do that. And I always try and give them little lessons, you know, on anything. It could be on anything, and try and make it fun. And if it's a serious thing, explain to them in a serious way so that they get it. So yeah, just anything that you think is fun, and anything that you feel like there's a life lesson in it, do it. Question number 5, what's the reality of motherhood? The reality of motherhood, I don't know, that kind of sounds like motherhood is a bad thing, or it's a scary thing, or, you know, tell me the worst of it. And obviously there is, I wouldn't say good and bad, there's difficult times in motherhood. But just as much as there are difficult times, there are great, amazing times where you create memories with your children, and it's not all doom and gloom. Like, it is a struggle, and I've never been ashamed to admit that it is a struggle. It is the hardest thing I've ever done, but it is the most amazing thing also. So some of the realities of motherhood, I would say, are tantrums. Having to deal with these human beings who are learning and growing every second of the day, and it requires patience, it requires love, it requires consistency, it requires a lot of time, it requires selflessness so you can't be selfish, and it requires putting your kids first and thinking about your kids in everything you do. So it's no longer just about you and your life and your wants and your needs. It's about thinking about and making decisions for your children. So that is the reality of motherhood for me. Question number 6, is it easy to get the kids out of the house on time for anything scheduled? You are asking the wrong person. I'm terrible. Like, before I had children, I was already somebody that was quite bad with timing and punctuality, and having kids just made that a lot worse. But no, it's not easy to get the kids out on time if there's something scheduled, but I would definitely say that I'm getting better at it. And the key thing to do is to be organized. So for example, if you know your child has school the next morning, make sure that you pack their bags the night before. Make sure that the uniform's out and ironed already. Make sure that the packed lunch is there ready. Whatever it is, just try and be organized, and that will help you to stay on top of things. Question number 7, what are some practical bits of advice you can offer concerning a woman/mother's day in the life? Practical bits of advice, again, that would link back to what I just said in terms of being organized. I think being organized in any area of your life makes things easier, and planning effectively helps to make things run more smoothly. But at the end of the day, you can't control, you don't know what's going to happen throughout that day, so you can only plan to a certain extent. But some practical bits of advice that I can offer is being prepared in terms of having snacks on you, having drink on you. It depends on what your day in the life would be like, but for me, make sure you know what you're going to cook that night, so that when you get home you can start on the cooking straight away, so that it doesn't run into your evening routine, whatever that may be, whether it be running a bath, whether it be, I don't know, brushing their teeth, reading them a bedtime story. Make sure that you're organized and you know you have that routine in place, so that when the time comes for you to do those things, it doesn't run over. Practical bit of advice I would also offer for a mum's day in the life is to try and stay calm. You know, sometimes your kids are freaking out and that makes you want to, you know, freak out as well, but the main thing is to remember that children really do look to you, and they look to see if you're calm and if you're collected, or if you're freaking out and you're frustrated and you're taking it out on them. They really do pick up on your energy and your vibe. So I always try and stay calm. And I actually started this new thing with Aiden and Mia, where if they're, you know, freaking out and having a tantrum, I will speak to them in a calming voice. I will not shout. I will just say, Aiden, Mia, you need to calm down. And next thing I know, they're literally calming down with me, with the tone of my voice. They're getting quieter and quieter. And so I would just say, definitely try and stay calm regardless of what the situation is, because your kids will pick up on, you know, if you're freaking out, they will freak out, and then it will just get worse and worse. So yeah, try and stay calm and be patient. How do you deal with tantrums? My girl is 5 and still has them. I don't know, tantrums are quite a difficult one, because it depends on what kind of tantrum it is, because trust me, there are different kinds of tantrums. If it's just kind of like a sulking sort of tantrum whereby, you know, it's nothing deep but they're just moaning, I will kind of just leave them to sulk. And you know, the reason for that is I don't want them to feel like they can just, you know, throw a tantrum and that I'm going to respond to that, because I feel like that's sending a wrong message and signal to them. So if they're, you know, just sulking and moaning because, I don't know, they want a lollipop and I've said no, I will just ignore them and let them sulk. And once they've calmed down, then I will speak to them and explain to them why it's not okay to act like that. But if it's a tantrum whereby, I don't know, they're, you know, going crazy and screaming, shouting, banging their feet, or a public tantrum, then I deal with that very differently. You know, I'll drag them in close and, you know, speak to them in that stern voice. No joke on my face, all seriousness. Let them know you're being serious. You know that mum look that you give? You just look at your child. You just let them know that it's not okay. And another way that I deal with a tantrum, if it's a really serious one, is just to raise my voice really loudly, quickly, once. Like, I would just shout their name, like Aiden or Mia, and then that kind of gets them attention and snaps them out of that tantrum. So yeah, it just depends on how deep it is, basically. But yeah, how do you balance being a working mum? How do I balance being a working mum? I balance being a working mum. I've actually got a video about being a working mum, so I will link it down below if you want to have a watch of that. But basically, I balance being a working mum by trying to stay on top of all my tasks and responsibilities, and it's definitely something that I've got better at. I would say before I would get really overwhelmed because I felt like there wasn't enough hours in my day, but no, realizing that everybody has the same 24 hours in the day, and it's down to you what you choose to do with it and how effective you want to be. So being a working mum, I work for a few hours a day. and then as soon as I finish work, straight away I'm into mum mode. So I'm thinking about exactly what I'm gonna do once I pick up the kids, when I get home, their snack time, like I said, their routine, what I'm gonna make for dinner, the washing that I need to do. I just try and be organized and try and plan what I'm gonna do, and I balance that, the working mum life and, you know, the routines of the everyday chores, etc., by also having me time. You know, I always if I feel like I need to go out, I will get up and go out with my sister, or I will go and watch a movie with my friend, or I will go on a date with my husband, or whatever it is. You know, I always, you know, balance me time and wearing the mum hat. So if I take off the mum hat, I put on the me time hat, and I will have a bath, or I'll just zone out, and I'll tell Morgan he has to have the kids. So basically just making sure that you're okay, you know, and that you're mentally present, if that makes sense. I never want to be there and be zoned out. So whenever I feel like things are getting too much, I have a break, and I think that's very much needed and important for every mum. And then the final question is, what's the best part about being a mum? I don't know if I could narrow that down to one thing, because there's so many great things about being a mum, but something that I really enjoy about being a mum is watching these two little human beings that I've created, watching their little personalities come out, and, you know, hearing how similar they are to us, me and Morgan, and, you know, when, like, just realizing that they pick up on little things we do, on our body language and little things we say, and basically seeing ourselves in them is such a beautiful thing to see. And I just enjoy seeing their vulnerability and their trust and their innocence. I enjoy seeing their trust in me, knowing that they, you know, when they're with mummy, they feel so secure. They know that mummy's gonna feed them, they know mummy's gonna look after them, they're protected when they're with mum and dad, and I just love seeing that trust in them, because it kind of reminds me of how we should be with God as Christians. But yeah, I just love being a mum. I love the responsibility, I love it all, because, you know, it being challenging is what makes you even more grateful that you're able to be a mum, because, you know, regardless of how hard it is, because if it was all fairies and rainbows and, you know, you had perfect children and it was all good all day every day, there wouldn't really be anything to appreciate. But when you have hard times and you have challenging times and you have times where you just want to go and lock yourself in the room and cry because you're so stressed, it makes you really, really enjoy the good times as well. So yeah, that was my last question. I hope that helped in some way. Like I said before, if you do have any other questions relating to motherhood or any other topic, please drop them down below, and any video suggestions you have. I hope that was enjoyable. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.